The H1B Guy here, and today, the H1B Guy news for the week ending October 16th, 2020. But before we get started, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't already, to please subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube. It helps me to produce more content like this for you. I also wanted to mention that the H1B Guy offers a variety of consulting services. If I can help you with your document and evidence review and overall case management, or if I can help your employer determine your case status, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear how I can help you. I also wanted to say thanks again to Himanshu at dark_night 1587 who joined me live Wednesday night for the third Stamp It Out appointment. Now, the news. October 12th, 2020. In an article written by Sarah Butcher for Financial Careers titled H1B Salary Restrictions May Impact Juniors in Investment Banks. Quote, recruiters in New York City claim that salaries for junior bankers and front office jobs, including M&A and sales and trading, typically exceed new H1B limits. Given the compensation levels of investment professionals, the way these restrictions have been defined is not necessarily bad news, says Anthony Keisner at search firm Odyssey Search Partners. There may be a lot of technology firms and smaller corporates currently using the H-1B system who won't be able to participate under the new rules, potentially leaving even more spots available for the most highly paid folk, including those in finance. Although banks do hire first-year analysts on H-1B visas, they don't make up a large percentage of entry-level recruits. Odyssey Search Partners tracks the U.S. investment banking analyst population. Of the 2020 college graduates going into investment banks, it found that just 10% are not U.S. citizens and that just 2% are joining on H-1B visas. The remaining 8% typically work under OPT visas granted to graduates of U.S. colleges for 1 year or OPT STEM extensions, which give overseas students the right to remain in the country for 2 years after graduation. H-1B visas are inconsequential by comparison. I like to cover Sarah's articles because they provide insight into the H-1B visa's role in financial sector jobs. The context here is that the new wage levels will have very little, if any, impact for H-1Bs working as investment professionals. Only 2% of recent graduates who are hired for entry-level investment professional roles are H-1B, with the remaining 8% typically working under OPT. As I previously covered in the H1B Guy news on September 4th, 2020, the extremely high salaries for H1Bs working for hedge funds, we very clearly see a continuation of the same theme here. H1Bs working in the financial sector are well compensated and generally paid above the previous prevailing wage determination and the new one based on the recent H1B interim final rule. October 13th, 2020. In an article written by Stuart Anderson for Forbes titled Tech Employment Data Contradict Need for Quick H-1B Visa Rules. Quote, new government data show low unemployment rate in computer occupations contradicts Trump administration claims an economic emergency requires a quick implementation of new H-1B visa rules. The U.S. unemployment rate for individuals in computer occupations stood at 3.5% in September of 2020, not changed significantly from the 3% unemployment rate in January of 2020, before the pandemic spread in the U.S., according to an analysis by the Bureau of Labor Statistics Current Population Survey by the National Foundation for American Policy. Approximately two-thirds of H-1B visa holders work in computer-related occupations, according to USCIS. But the DHS and DOL rules spend much time citing the nation's overall unemployment rate in 2020 rather than focusing on the more relevant computer occupations. For individuals 25 years and over with a bachelor's degree or higher, the national unemployment rate fell from 6.7% in July of 2020 to 4.8% in September of 2020. There are over 280,000 active job vacancy postings in the U.S. for software developer applications, more than 92,000 for network and computer system administrator, and 79,819 for computer system analyst. History presents another significant problem for the argument in the Department of Labor and Department of Homeland Security H-1B rules that unemployment rates in 2020 justify a good cause exception. The highest unemployment rate for computer and mathematical occupations in 2020 was 4.6% in August. The DHS H-1B rule cited the unemployment rates in the information sector and the professional and business services sector in its regulation. The sectors include a variety of companies. The professional and business services sector includes landscaping services, waste management, and remediation services, travel arrangements and reservations, and other types of businesses unlikely to hire many H-1B visa holders. The information sector includes newspaper publishers, radio and television broadcasting, and book publishers. Two of the top five jobs in the information and the professional and business services sectors are janitors and landscaping and groundskeeping workers, with managers, software developers, and lawyers representing the other three. To justify bypassing the normal rulemaking process, DOL and DHS omitted relevant data and focused on statistics in the rules that were outdated or not relevant. It seems fair to conclude that when it issued the H-1B regulations, the Trump administration did not have the facts on its side. As I've been talking about this for well over a week now, this move is political pandering at its finest. The unemployment data in the specialty occupation fields, specifically technology and mathematics, have remained at less than 5% during the entire pandemic, while other industry fields have experienced all-time unemployment highs. So, the question has to continue to be asked. Why announce this H-1B interim final rule now? As I've talked about, making this interim final rule effective immediately makes it much more difficult for the next administration, whenever that may be, to rescind this ruling. It also appeals to President Trump's staunchest supporters at a time when the polls show him behind. It's evident the current administration has again disregarded nonpartisan data for the benefit of their agenda. October 15th, 2020, in an article written by David Beer for the Cato Institute titled, DOL said its H-1B wage rule should cost many employers $0, but it imposed billions in cost anyway. Quote, to hear the DOL tell it then, most H-1B companies are already complying with both the letter and intent of the law and should have no problem with this new rule because the higher wages will only affect a few low-paying employers. It concludes that the prevailing wage rate should approximate the actual wage being paid for the largest users of the H-1B program, and that the actual wage and prevailing wage should at least in many cases be similar. But the prevailing wage rates that the rule actually adopted completely contradict these agencies' findings. DOL produced wage rates that are almost entirely dissimilar from the actual wages offered to H-1B workers overall, as well as among the top users in 2020. Overall, 94% of H-1B jobs offers were below the prevailing wage rates and under the IFR. The new IFR prevailing wage rate is 20% more or higher than the actual wage offers for 88% of H-1B jobs in 2020. Overall, the average H-1B employer will have to increase actual wage offers by more than 30%. Notice that the DOL claimed that a 20% difference was significant and proved the prevailing wage rates were wrong, but now it has moved the wages by more than 20% higher than the actual wages, despite its clear statements, far from costing employers nothing. The 30% wage hike will cost employers tens of billions of dollars in additional wages. This is the second way in which the DOL has fundamentally misrepresented its rule to the public. As previously reported, DOL made a massive error in its assumptions about where wages would fall under its new methodology. It's possible that one bad assumption explains why the prevailing wages are so far from the actual wage offers. Either way, DOL's rule directly contradicts the agency's own findings. If one of the H1B IFR's intentions was to have a significant impact on the largest users of the H1B program by severely increasing wage levels, then it will achieve that and then some. As I've discussed on the H1B Guy News for August 28th, 2020, the H1B Guy News for September 11th, 2020, and has been reported on countless outlets, the big tech companies well compensate their H1B employees. But to see that 94% of all H1B job offers would be below the new wage levels based on the H1B IFR, and that the new wage levels are 20% above 88% of all H1B jobs in 2020 are really some staggering numbers. Yes, this has an immediate impact on the largest H1B users, but the more significant impact will be by employers that have a handful of H1B employees. A 30% immediate salary increase for H1B employees on staff is going to be a very tough pill to swallow for a lot of businesses. At a time when employers are looking to cut costs, reduce employee compensation, and overall being more financially responsible due to the pandemic, they are now faced with a very difficult choice. Retain the human capital they currently have with a 30% salary increase, or let them go. Not a pro-business move, to say the least. Both Stuart Anderson and David Beer alluded to the looming lawsuit. I'll continue to monitor the news surrounding the H1B IFR. For the full post on the H1B Guy News for the week ending October 16th, 2020, check out the h1bguy.com. And if you haven't already, I'd like to ask you to please like this video, subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube, and click the bell for notifications so that you're notified anytime a new post goes up here on YouTube. If you've made it this far, I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to watch my content. I just really appreciate your support. The H1B Guy, your global source for all things H1B.